there we go. Okay, so today, the title is called Polynomials. And there's a lot of writing and everything today. But the main purpose of this section is just how to identify things. So it's kind of all about classifying polynomials. So just being able to, like if you're reading a problem and it says, a quadratic trinomial, you have to know what that means. So that's what today's is essentially all about. And so I'll put this up here to start. And while you guys are writing stuff down, I'll remind you guys again that, we only have school today and tomorrow. The work that we're doing today and tomorrow, the goal is for you to have it done by next Tuesday, I believe, because I think we have Monday off for President's Day. It's kind of a crazy 2 weeks of days off for you guys. So you pretty much get 2 4-day weekends in a row. Which, as a student, that's actually terrible for you. As a person, you probably love it, right? But it's hard to remember a lot of details when you have a bunch of days off in a row. So I don't normally recommend you guys put off homework, but it's actually not a horrible idea for you to do your homework over the 4-day weekend, because then it's easier for you to remember things as we come back the Tuesday afterwards. So, just keep that in your mind. You obviously can do things whatever order you want. Our test is next Friday. And we actually don't have many sections left. It's just, we just don't have that many school days until next Friday. So, in terms of the concept checks, great, people keep coming in. In terms of the concept checks, I put them the day before the test, like on the review day. And so a few people have been doing that. I missed the N in polynomial. We're up on top, did I really? Oh no, it's right there. Or did I miss it down here somewhere? Oh, got it. Okay. Oh man, I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh, about the test and the concept checks. So a few of you guys have remembered about the concept checks, and you absolutely can do them ahead of time. So like, since we're doing 7-6 today, you're welcome to do all the concept checks. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, I don't think we have 2. I think it's 7, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or you can wait until the review day to do them all. And it was kind of half and half last time who did what. But where I was going with talking about the long weekends, if you want to do those concept checks over the 4-day weekend at some point, again, that's a really good way for you to remember things. It's not even a lot of work, and it's due at some point anyway. So it's a really good way for you to remember things, so 4 days off, you don't forget too much. So if you wanted to do that, you could. Okay, so you probably have some information written down right now. I better pick up the computer pen instead of the actual pencil. So the first part of 7-6 is naming things by how many terms there are. Okay? Now, I wrote it up on top. The word polynomial, the poly is really the part we focused on. Like, I don't even care about that part. The word poly is what matters. So poly is a root word for many, right? And the generic word polynomial stands for any number of terms. Now, traditionally, 1 terms, 2 terms, and 3 terms are the most common, and so they give those specific names. So something that has 1 term is a monomial. Something that has 2 terms, and if you need help remembering how to decipher terms, this is the first term. The minus sign separates it. This is the second term. So plus and minus signs are how you separate terms. So if you have 2 terms, then it's binomial. And so, I mean, they use a lot of these root words repeatedly. So even if you forget things, there's a good chance you can kind of remember because of the root words. Looking at this one, we've got 1 term here, a plus sign separates this to be the second term. A minus sign makes this the third term. So having 3 terms would be called a trinomial. And there absolutely can be more than 3 terms, but since they happen so seldom, they don't have a specific name for it. And so what they do is if there's more than 3 terms, they just use the generic word polynomial, just because poly means many. So if there's under 3 terms, they use a specific word. If there's 3 or more, then they use the generic, any number of terms. And I don't know how fast you guys are writing. It's really hard when I can't see you in person. So if I end up going too fast, holler out. I'll pause and let you write stuff down. Does anybody still need the naming by terms up there? Okay. Oops. Okay, so the next portion of 7.6 is talking about the degree of monomials. So there's specifically 2 ways that they classify things. One way is the number of terms, and that's probably the most straightforward and easiest thing for you to get. The second way is how big of a power it has. And there's a bunch of ways to view that. So that's the power one is a little more complicated. I wouldn't call it bad, but it's just there's a funny way that they look at it. So the first thing we'll talk about is how to determine the degree of a single thing. So this is a degree of a monomial. Well, you basically look at the power that's on the term. So this has a 1 on it. This is going to be called a first degree. Actually, you know what? I'll call this, oh shoot. I'll call this first degree for now, because it's not wrong. So the highest power in here is the first. This has a third power, so we're going to call it a third degree. You know what? I'll do both. So the first few handful of degrees are very common, and so then they have a specific name for them, like we did up above with number of terms. A first degree, if something is first degree, we usually call it linear. And I have the chart down below. I just don't want you to think they're different. Third degree is usually going to be referred to as cubic. Who should I go with? Desmond, what power is on the -2? Like, no, I shouldn't say on the -2. What power is this one considered, do you think, when there's no letter? So it's actually going to be 0. So the 2 is to the first power. That is 100% correct, and that's why I took back what I said. When you're talking about the degree, we're actually talking about the variable. So since this doesn't have a variable, it's like to the 0 power. I mean, that was a very good educated guess, though. The 0th degree, which is odd to say, is usually known as constant. If you have more than one variable, you combine them. Ugh. My spelling is atrocious today. And this was a lot bigger little note than I thought it was going to be. A cubic is going to be the highest power. Degree. A cubic is the highest degree you need to know a specific name for. Like this one over here with 6th degree, you don't need to know that one. And or when there's more than one variable, they don't even like have a specific name for them. So this is how you look at the degree of individual terms. Basically, it's pretty straightforward, except for if there are no variables or if there's more than one. And it's not hard once you see how to do it. Now, the other thing that can make it confusing is you're also going to be asked to find the degree of a bunch of terms. And the dumb part about this is you're supposed to look at all the terms individually, and then the term with the highest power, highest degree, shouldn't say power, highest degree, is what the whole polynomial is referred to as. So that's what this little side note is. Is it okay if I scroll down? Is anybody still writing the information up top? Because I can certainly wait. Okay. So I tried to pick some of the strangest examples I could. You're very rarely going to get ones that look like this. I just tried to pick the strangest I could. So what we have to do is look at the individual terms. This first term is 1st degree, and I'm not going to worry about the specific name. This second term is 5th degree. So if I have to classify this whole as a group, this is a 5th degree polynomial. So I could say this is a first degree term. I could say this is a fifth degree term. But if you have to classify it as a group, a polynomial, because polynomial means the group of them, then you would say it's a fifth degree group, because that's the highest one. Okay, so now that I kind of have a little bit written down, and you guys might be behind, I don't know. You're being awfully silent today. Caroline, what degree is this first term? The one I just drew the white arrow above. Well, well, at least you're kind of guessing. So, are you unsure because this one doesn't have a number? Okay, that's fine. So when there's no number written, it's a 1. So these two together would make the third degree. I mean, you made a very good, you used good logic on that because you weren't sure if to include them or what. So you add them together, so this would be third degree. Logan, what degree would this term be? The 0.25xy. And if your microphone's not working, you could just type it in as well. Or I can help you if you want some help too. Maybe Logan didn't hear me. Sadie, do you know what this term would be considered? Perfect. Yep, nope, that's perfect. So they're both first power, so this would be second degree. And then this last term, Alex, what do you think about this last term? What would this be called? Close. So there's no letter. Yeah, so it's like, yeah. I know, it always seems dumb to write 0 with. Okay, so we've got 3 separate terms, a third degree, a second degree, and a 0 degree. Nora, what would I classify the whole thing as then? Perfect. You pick the highest one of all of them. I'm trying to present it this way because I don't want you guys to get confused between naming individual terms and naming the whole thing. And so I'm hoping this helps for me to write it this way, because it seems weird to me that they classify them separately but with the same wording. And that kind of makes it hard for you to learn it in the first place. But that's why I'm trying to write the word polynomial underneath, because if I'm classifying a polynomial, that's like all the parts. See if you guys can figure out this last one on your own. And most of the time, you can just flat out look at it and get the answer. There's no work that has to be shown. Ben, what do you think about this 6x to the 4th plus 9x squared minus x plus 3? What degree polynomial would this be? Ben, are you there? So the third one, what would I classify the whole thing as? What's the highest power, basically? You don't know which one's the highest power? Do you want me to point out the powers? Okay, good. Yeah, and I didn't know if you just didn't hear the word or what. So we have a 4th power, we have a 2nd power, we have a 1st power, and then we have a 0 power. So the highest is 4, so this is a 4th degree polynomial. Yeah, you don't have to write it out like I was earlier. That was just kind of showing you where the answers come from. Oh, yeah, AG. So generally you can just look at it, and once you figure out the highest degree, then that's how you name the whole thing. It's definitely going to take longer to write it than to do it. Okay, so this is where I was talking about the specific names. They generally will only name something specifically if it's one variable, like an X. And I don't like how they mix and match all this stuff together for you, because it could be hard for you. But this is specifically if you're trying to name something that has only one variable, and in our case, it'll always be an X, just to make things kind of standard. And if you wrote them down up above, no problem. I wanted to write them down for you so you could see the names and an example with them. This is unfortunately what I was talking about when I said there's a lot of writing today. An easy topic, but a lot of writing, so it's slow. Is anybody friends with Luke, by the way? He hasn't been in here for a handful of days in a row. Does anybody know if he's like sick or anything? I just didn't know if he needed help with something. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it might have just been pure chance that it was, missing class a handful of days in a row. Just didn't know if he was all right. Anybody have any questions on what's up here? Like, do you want me to talk about something, or maybe you can't read it? I don't know. I don't always write the greatest. I try, but it's hard writing on the computer. It's really weird. I can tell you I've been doing it a while now, so I'm more used to it. But if you guys want to know what it's like to write on the computer, write on your paper without looking at your paper. So you have to sit there and write on this tablet without actually seeing it, which is weird. I feel like my video gaming skills throughout my life have benefited me for the hand-eye coordination here. It has prepared me for this. So if you guys want to know, you can tell your parents that video games give you skills. Hand-eye coordination. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. Nobody said they still need this yet, and I can't tell. Okay, the next thing, and we're just about done, to be honest. We actually don't have much more. Is, I think we've used this name before, standard form. Standard form just means that you write all of the terms in descending order. So I said correct order. That's not very good phrasing. It's not incorrect to write it in a different order. But the highest power down. So you're supposed to look at individual terms. And the plus or minus sign in front of it stays with it. So this is first degree, third degree, 0th degree, second degree. And your goal is to write them in highest power down, so descending order. So the correct answer, the correct standard form answer would be negative 4x cubed. Then I'd go down to the second power. And if there's a power missing, you just skip it. First power was positive, and then 0 power. Now, I can't remember what section this is in, but we will definitely be using it quite a bit in Chapter 8, so I'll start telling you this term ahead of time. The number on the highest power is called the leading coefficient. And that's going to affect how your function looks like an x. It's a super long word, though. Coefficient. And it's not just the first number, it's the number on the highest power. So if you write it in standard form, it's the first number. But if it's not in standard form, then it's just the number on the highest power. And that the leading coefficient will be a big deal to us in the next chapter. So this is kind of leading you a little bit. But standard form, it's basically a free point for you guys on the test. Like these are supposed to be the super easy ones for you because you're very used to being given equations in standard form already. Like I know a lot of people they can't stand it written like this when it's out of order. It's almost like a mini OCD thing, right? Like it just bothers a lot of students to write them in the wrong order. So most of you are used to standard form just because that's how everything's usually written. Anything on there? I think I said it already. If there's a power that is missing, you just basically leave it out, but it still goes highest degree down. Okay, last part. So this will just be asking you to classify. I think the directions usually say classify. I know different textbooks use different words. Okay, so if you're asked to classify it, that means you're being asked for both names. Murph, let's go with you. What degree is this one? So degree is by the highest power. So what's the highest power in this first problem? Yeah, that was my fault. 2. Okay, so what is the specific word for a highest power of 2? I think you have it written down right above this. If not, I can kind of help you out here too. Okay. So I'll scroll back up after this so you can take a screenshot because you're going to need to know those names. So highest power of 2, the specific name is quadratic. So this one is going to be a quadratic. And then do you want to answer the next question or do you want me to go to somebody else? Oh, that's fine. I was just kind of, you did good. Identifying the highest power of 2 was actually the hard part of it, to be honest, for a lot of students. So you did fine, Matt. Sophie, the second word is usually how many terms there are. So how many terms are in this one? And then what's the specific name for that? No, we're still on number 1. Sorry. Yeah, how many terms are in number 1? I think you were answering highest power. Yep. Nope. That's all right. Yep. So there are 3 terms. What's the name for 3 terms? It was one of the top things we wrote down. I think it was the first thing. Perfect. So the classification of this one would be a quadratic trinomial. And I mean, I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I absolutely do not expect you to memorize these because there's a lot of names. But if you have them written down, then you can just look them up every time. And it's just this chapter. You'll get used to the common ones that we use. I'll scroll back up for anybody that needed to take a screenshot of this. On your Chromebooks, if I remember right, I think the screenshot is, I don't think it's control. I can't remember what keys you guys have. It's control, and then there's a button up on the top row that's like 3 rectangles. The 3 rectangles is the Windows button, or like the window tabs. I think it's control. Is that correct? Does somebody remember screenshot? I don't have a Chromebook, so they didn't give any of the teachers Chromebooks, and I've never bought one. Wait, have any of you guys ever taken a screenshot before? Do you remember if that was the correct keys, Nora? Okay, yeah, control, and then I think it's like F4 or F5, but it's the rectangle button. And then that saves the screenshot to your computer. So if there's something that you want to screenshot that you don't think you're going to get written down, whatever, just screenshot it, and then like when we're taking the test, you can open up your screenshot to look at the names. That's always a good way to do it. Okay, I'll go back down. And if somebody needs me to go back up, just let me know. Haroon, do you think you could help me with number 2? How would we classify number 2? Highest power is 7. Good. So what would we call that? Perfect, except for instead of an n, you just put a 7. So 7th degree. Yep. No, that's all right. So when it's above 3rd power, then you just call it, and whatever degree. So, okay, so then how many terms are there, Haroon? One, 2, 3, 4. The plus and minus signs separate the terms. What was the name for 4 terms? Okay. Do you have those written down at all? Okay. Okay. I'll scroll back up quick so you guys can screenshot this. This was the first. That's right. I kind of remember a few people came in late. You might have been one of them. The first thing we wrote down was how to name by how many terms there are. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, feel free. One term is called a monomial, 2 terms binomial, 3 terms trinomial. Anything more than 3 is called a polynomial. So I go back down to here. We have 4 terms. So Haroon, what was the name for more than 3 terms? Perfect. So I'll emphasize again, you guys. This is going to be really easy for you if you have it all written down. It's really hard if you're trying to just go by the top of your head. I mean, like, there's a lot of names, so it's difficult to remember this info. I don't know, who hasn't gone yet today? Isabella, have you gone? I don't think so. Okay. Do you think you could name this last one for me? Two terms, yep. Perfect. Binomial. No, that's all right. And 100% if you guys spell these wrong, I'm not worried about the spelling either. So that was good. So first degree is called a constant. Oh my God, I just wrote down. I know you said constant, and then you said, no, wait. I remember that. This is a linear, because that's the wording for first degree. And there are 2 terms, so it's a binomial. And the main purpose of today is because you're absolutely going to get problems in the future where they're going to say something about the name of it. And if you don't really know what the words stand for, it can make it difficult. So this is kind of all about trying to help you, be able to read the problems. Okay, that's it for today. It went a little bit longer than I was trying to. You will find that the homework goes fast, though, because when you guys are doing the homework, you're basically just going to be answering things by looking at them. So, and if you have the information written down, that'll help you out a lot. Okay, I'll have this video saved, so if you need to write something down later that maybe you missed, absolutely you guys can watch the video and quickly write down or screenshot things again later, too. So, that's all I got for today. I appreciate you guys coming, and I will see you again tomorrow.